Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard their point. Now, hear the counterpoint on Libertarian Counterpoint Podcasts.
Good evening and welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. We are coming at you on February 2nd, 2021. We're about roughly 2 weeks into the Biden administration, and that's what we're going to be talking about this episode. But before we get into it, let me introduce you to our panel. Up in our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. Up in our right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett, who is a pilot in the state of California. My name is Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host. So, I think we're going to have a lot of episodes like this, but we're dealing with Babbling Biden. So, who knows how long he'll be able to sort of keep up, you know? I mean, we may not have him as long as we think we will, you know? He may only make it a year or so before they figure out a way to get rid of it. I think it's always we get rid of it.
Most of us don't think he's going to last a year. So
yeah. Well, I gave him until my birthday next year, so that I'm a little more than a year. So, but I have a bet with my brother-in-law on that.
Well, at this point, I think the left is just sort of using him like a sock puppet. You know,
Yeah.
Have their hand in him. I think it's some coming from the left coast, you know. But anyways, the first topic I wanted to jump into was right out of the gate. One of the first things he does is to kill the Keystone Pipeline, and that's something that I guess had struggled under the Obama administration with getting approval because it's sort of a symbol of, for those people who want to address climate change in government, they see that as a symbol that needs to be put down. And so under Trump, that was something then that got reapproved. They hadn't made a lot of progress on it, but they were starting to build on it. And then right away, as Biden's gotten in, they have come back and killed it. And with that, they've taken about 11,000 jobs approximately is what's being reported. But, right in the heart of a pandemic, when they've shut down lots of businesses, killed lots of jobs, and one of the first acts is to kill some more jobs.
Really?
what government is good at, I guess, nowadays. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Well,
go ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
I'm trying to give you the last word in Liberty, Leon. I'm plugging in my iPad because it's the end of the day, and I've been abusing it with lots of video and podcasting here, and so it's starting to run low on fuel. Speaking of fuel, if I wanted to make normal fuel like for gasoline and to power airplanes and cars and boats and everything, if I wanted to make it more expensive so that it would make more palatable my endeavors in alternative energy, I'd want to make the fuel as expensive as possible. So therefore, I wouldn't want any efficient, clean, less expensive, better for the environment pipelines installed underground to move the fuel and the oil, which is basically the fuel.
And by the way, Tim, before you go on, let me just for the audience, I didn't give enough of a background on this. Keystone Pipeline goes from Canada down to Texas, and essentially it is carrying oil from the tar sands of Canada, which is a huge resource of oil, but it is also a little bit more, energy intensive oil because it's not really in that sweet crude form to start with. But regardless, it is a huge supply of oil, and pipeline would be a way to make that more efficient and bringing it down to Texas. So sorry about that. I just wanted to get that out there.
So if I wanted to make a so-called green energy more easily affordable, I would want to first make the old-fashioned stuff more expensive, and so that's one good way to do it. And so there you go. And of course, there's all the other angles. Is China going to get the Canadian oil now? And is Biden in China's back pocket, like Trump was in Putin's back pocket, so on and so forth? You know, I mean, the plot thickens, and so maybe Leon will talk about that aspect.
You know, the hypocrisy in all of this is just overwhelming. Okay, we have John Kerry telling us that, oh, these people who are going to lose their jobs, they could just get new jobs building solar panels. Listen to the madness of these people.
Yeah.
Listen to the madness of these people. The hypocrisy is unbelievable. John Kerry, Mr. Wealthy, runs around with a private jet, leaving a carbon footprint that you wouldn't believe. He runs around in a nice limousine, door-to-door chauffeur, leaving a carbon footprint. But you know what? He's telling other people they can't do the same thing. He's telling the rest of us we are not good enough to do the same thing. Biden does the same thing. Private jets, all these sort of things, all powered by fuel, oil, natural gas, but yet they're trying to kill this industry. Well, I have an bias here because the oil and gas industry is near and dear to my heart. I spent a chunk of my life working in that industry. Even when I was one of those dreaded bureaucrats, I was still working in natural gas.
Yeah, and just real quick, when Biden jumps in his jet and fires it up, who's paying for the fuel that goes into that jet?
We think. The taxpayers.
So if the cost goes up, Biden won't even notice it, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. I just want to make sure that was understood.
Yes.
More than likely, Hunter is somehow tied into this with a business arrangement.
I'm sure. No, but even so, because they're going to shut down the pipeline, they're going to be trucking the oil. They'll have to truck the oil even into the United States. They're going to truck it into Texas. What do you think is going to happen? We're going to have more emissions. It's worse for the environment if this is what their goal. Oh, we're going to protect the environment. It's going to be worse for the environment because the oil is going to be trucked. And then on top of that, what do you think Canada is going to do? They're going to look for other markets. They're not just going to say, oh God, we're going to shut down our production. They're going to look for other markets. And there we go. The China connection. They're probably going to be shipping that oil all over the world. Again, worse for the environment. And these people cannot see that for 1 second. These are the people who want to lecture us about science. They always want to lecture us. Oh, we got to follow science. But every move they make is anti-science. Every move they make. And the hypocrisy is unbelievable.
Well, there also is a safety risk as well that goes up when you start putting things on, oil onto the railroads and, trucking as well.
Trucking, yes, exactly.
The pipeline is much safer. It's not going through cities and other things like that a rail line is going to be doing. So.
Yeah, well, even on this pipeline, on the pipeline, they had a well worked out. I mean, it was many years in the making. They had worked out the route very well. They had a very good route. And like you said, minimal risk in terms of, if something should go wrong, in terms of lives lost or that kind of stuff. But you can't even be rational with these people. The environment, saving the environment is now their new religion.
Well, I think that the Bidens know very well, maybe not Joe himself, but I mean the people in the positions of power that
who's got his hand working up.
Exactly. Yeah, that guy knows there's something going on. I don't know what it is. I don't pretend to know, but I do know that it's just a bad idea for the rest of us little people. And for out of our pocketbooks, fuel is going to be a lot more expensive. Gasoline, everything's going to be more expensive. And so I think that it's mainly the Democrat voters that are dumb enough to fall for this. So, hey, you Democrats, anybody listening? Are you that stupid? Really? You believe that this is all about the environment and Joe Biden is a knight in shining armor that is here to save you from all those terrible oil companies who, of course, Leon said that they were going to continue to mine the oil and drill for the oil and bring it up and bring it to market, maybe a different market, other markets. You mean they're not just going to throw their hands up and go, oh, let's start building solar cells, and,
yes.
For all our electric cars, or what's the deal? Anyway, come on, Democrats. Isn't there any Democrats watching this now that is going to come to your defense and explain this to us? Why?
Yeah, really.
Because
yes.
there's one of at least two, myself and you Democrats, who are really stupid. And so if I'm the stupid one, please educate me, and I'm here to be educated by you. And if you're the stupid one, well, just shut up.
It sounds like a call for comments, Tim. And you can send those comments into, I guess, Libertarian Counterpoint.
That's right.
Or Knuckleheads at libertariancounterpoint.com. So
yes.
we certainly love to have more comments and maybe a bonus section or something. But anyway, regardless of that, that's just one issue. So I mean, if only Biden just had like one thing a week, we have lots of things for Biden. He's
really?
He's an endless well.
Yes. Oh yes.
Yes. And as far as that goes, so the one of the very first executive orders he signed was also a mask mandate, and so he said that he wanted everybody on federal property to be required to wear a mask. And promptly, the very first thing he did after signing that order was to go over with his family to the, I guess it was the Lincoln Memorial, and not wear masks. Which was in violation of the executive orders he just signed. And it was funny because he was questioned about this, or at least the press secretary, Jen Psaki, was questioned about this the next day at the White House press briefing. And, because there's all these pictures of him and his family not wearing masks over there. And it was funny because she also was not wearing a mask. And according to the executive order, she's supposed to be wearing a mask too. So,
in the White House briefing room. Yeah. So, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, I don't think a Hollywood scriptwriter would take that kind of a chance, because if he wrote that into the movie, people would be going, "Are you crazy?" I mean, how could they do that? I mean, nobody would do that. Make a law and then go turn around in a couple of hours and break it yourself? No way.
What these people, in bureaucrats, government bureaucrats, they always think laws is for thee, but not for me. Okay. They're always better than everybody else. They don't have to live by the rules that they're trying to impose upon the rest of us.
And Biden's not afraid to show us that either.
Yes, exactly.
Out after he signs.
Yes. Even before this this incident with Joe Biden was on CNN. I think I spoke about this before. He was on CNN. He had already talked about one of his policies was that he was going to do the mask mandate for 100 days as soon as he became president, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff and things like that. And on national TV, this man without a mask walked across when the camera was still on and whispered in Anderson Cooper's ear. I don't know what the hell he was whispering, but it didn't look good. Okay? But he whispered in Anderson Cooper's ear. This big hypocrisy standing there for us to see. Now he became president. I don't know how a half-senile racist defeats an incumbent, but that's a different discussion for a different day. Now he becomes president, he signs the mask mandate and promptly turns around and violates it. I think we should put this man in prison for this crap. Shit.
Well, speaking of putting presidents in prison, that takes us to our very next thing. In an effort of unity by the Democrats, the very first thing they wanted to do, as a show of unity, is to try to impeach Trump for the second time. And so, even though he's not in office, they're bound and determined to impeach him as a show of unity. Apparently, it's funny because we're not sure if this is actually something that is constitutional, since it says it has to be the president that gets impeached, and technically, as this charge comes down, he's not the president anymore. Right. But anyways, you guys have any thoughts on kind of this whole show of impeachment that's going on?
Well, okay. You want me to go? Well,
yeah, go ahead, Leon. Yeah, go ahead. Let's see what you have to say. I don't want to color your thoughts.
it's okay.
You're already colored enough.
You could color my
colored enough. Yeah.
Damn, there's the signal board. Jeez. You know, the process of this impeachment, it stinks. Okay, it really does. Okay, I mean, it was a snap impeachment. You know, there was no witnesses. Trump didn't get an opportunity to defend himself. Nothing like that happened, and he was impeached by the House. Now, it is true constitutionally, the House has the sole power of impeachment, and how they manage the impeachment process is totally up to them. Okay, truthfully. Okay, so I don't like the process by which he was impeached to start with, but I cannot say how they could have not impeached Trump. No American president, I'm speaking figuratively here now, no American president should be 100 miles be within 100 miles of this thing that happened on Capitol Hill on January 6th. Donald Trump was at that rally. The people that end up in that thing came out of his rally. Now, some of it looked like it was pre-planned and all that and that kind of stuff. There were some very loose statements said there. So he had to be impeached. Now, the question is, though, when he was impeached, he was still president. The constitutional question then becomes, should the Senate now try him? But the Constitutional clearly said it's for removal and disqualification, not removal or disqualification. It says removal and disqualification. How could they remove a man that's already removed? His term ended. He's out of office. So I don't think this is constitutional. I don't think this is constitutional at all. So getting back to the issue of unity that Joe Biden been preaching. If Joe Biden and the Democrats really wanted to demonstrate some unity here, they should shut this thing down. Fine, they were successful in impeaching him. Now he's the only president that have been impeached twice. Fine, okay, you have put a stain on him. But where is the constitutional authority for them to continue with this process when the man is already out of office? I contend there's none.
That was what Rand Paul contended and had a vote in the Senate, and this majority agreed that it was unconstitutional. Yes. So where does that leave the impeachment process at this point?
Well, it's still gonna go forward. The majority of Republicans, I think all the Democrats still voted for the resolution to continue. So they're going to start. I'm sorry.
So it's continuing then?
Yes, they're going to start. They're going to start next Tuesday. Okay. But I would hope once the proceedings start, I would hope Trump lawyers will ask for it to be suspended for a little while they challenge the constitutionality of the entire process. I think they should go to the Supreme Court, and I think it will go to the Supreme Court immediately. We won't have to go through all the appeal process. I think it could go to the Supreme Court immediately, and let the Supreme Court rule on whether this thing is constitutional or not. Because I think it's highly unconstitutional, because it says removal and disqualification. It does not say removal or disqualification. It says both, and they cannot remove a man who was already removed.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that the Supreme Court is going to want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. They've been reticent already about anything related to, the election process, and they've demonstrated reluctance to get involved. So I don't know if that'll happen. I also heard a constitutional attorney from Cato that said it's happened twice before where someone that's left office has been impeached. Was one senator and one some cabinet member or somebody.
It was a Secretary of War. Yes.
Yeah, Secretary of War. That was it. And where they were out of office and they were impeached. So I kind of, I've heard both arguments, and I'm still on the fence about it myself. I'm not being a constitutional scholar and really deserving of a decent opinion, and I haven't really studied it as much. So I'll have to say that, but even if you could impeach him, do you really want to?
Sure.
It's, if it were me in charge, that my advice to the Democrats would be just, hey, let it go and move on.
Yes.
What's progressive about going back and in the past and all that kind of stuff. And, because they're never going to, that whole insurrection, I do have an opinion about that. They're not going to be able to pin the insurrection thing on Trump.
No, they're not going to. Yeah,
that's real. That's really hard. You think impeachment's hard, and but to that whole inciting for insurrection. I mean, that's really far out there. And they're just not going to be able to do that. So, in my opinion, no matter what. So, rather than waste everybody's time and money, I'd give it up if I were them, because even if they could, even if it was constitutional, and then there's the constitutionality, which I believe has to be resolved. It's a question out there. You've got some good arguments on both sides, so I say drop it. But if you're going to pursue it, then you may lose going out of the gate there with the constitutionality. It may be ruled unconstitutional.
Yes. Tim, yes, you raise a good point, because I think you're right that there are good arguments on both sides of this issue, really and truly. And there's, on one side, there's the precedent, because there were two cases where the person who was impeached and tried was already out of office. The last one being, I believe, was the Secretary of War in 18 something. I believe that was the last case, if I'm not mistaken. But on the other side of that equation is the issue of what the punishment is intended as a result of a trial. If Trump is convicted, the Constitution clearly says removal and disqualification. So on both sides, there are good arguments. This is why I say I would hope Trump's lawyers, and just to back up a little bit, the constitutionality of impeaching and trying people who are already out of office, that particular issue have never been tested, even though it was done twice. Okay, so there's precedent, but it have never been tested constitutionally. So I would hope Trump lawyers will get the Senate to suspend this until it is tested constitutionally, and then we can find out whether you can really try an officer after that person leaves office.
Yeah. Well, in sort of wrapping this issue up, I think the Democrats kind of realize that the writing's on the wall. They're probably not going to have the votes to get that final impeachment anyway.
Right.
It has to be by 2/3, and they don't appear to have the Republicans at this stage, unless they have some smoking gun that hasn't really been shown yet on this. But it does kind of make you wonder if this is just, the Democrats, they just can't let Trump go, I mean,
You're right, exactly. That's all this is about. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
To light their fire.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, I mean, they're there because, so many voters hated Trump. I mean, that's the only reason they're there in the first place, as to where they are right now, where they won the presidency, if you really want to talk about that. So, I mean, they love Trump. I mean, they can't live without Trump. And if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. If you live by the Trump, you're going to die by the Trump.
Well, that's the sound of our Knucklehead Noise Patrol coming up. And that's where we like to end the show on kind of just a little bit crazy and lighthearted that some politician said, or other celebrity. And this one takes us right back to that Keystone pipeline issue that we started the show with. And it was kind of interesting because Justin Trudeau, he's kind of a lefty heartthrob. He's the guy who, stopped a gal at a town hall for saying all mankind that they wanted to help, and said, no, we say people kind.
Yeah.
We don't say
and he even told the woman to let's be a little more inclusive.
Exactly. Yeah. So we actually stopped one of his supporters there and just made sure she was completely woke on the subject. But he was
wow.
kind of upset that this whole pipeline was getting killed by Biden, because he was he was on board with that. It's a big deal for his country. It's a big boost to the country's GDP if that thing is going. And so one of the things that Justin Trudeau said in letting this go, and keep in mind, he is a woke guy, okay? He said, despite President Biden's decision on the project, we would like to welcome other executive orders made today, including the decisions to rejoin the Paris Agreement and the World Health Organization, to place a temporary moratorium on all oil and natural gas leasing activities in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, and to reverse the travel ban on several Muslim majority countries. But the key issues there in that quote that he said is, join the Paris Agreement and to end, other oil and natural gas exploration Arctic. So, if he's all for that, why does he want to develop these tar sands? The hypocrisy is just like unbelievable. Do these guys even hear what they're saying when they say it? I don't know. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Like I tell you, the stench of hypocrisy that comes from the left is nauseating. And whether we're talking about the left here in the United States or we're talking about the left in Canada, the stench never changes. It's the same. It's just as nauseating. It's just as stink.
Well, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm just wondering if Trudeau causes any erections.
For our listeners, our last show, that was a big deal where Trump giving the left a hard on, apparently, where both Anderson Cooper and Schumer had accidentally in their talks had popped some erection language out there.
They were saying they mispronounced insurrection, and it was just a slip of the tongue, and so we're just wondering if
anyway.
exactly.
The bottom line is Trump derangement syndrome also causes accidental erections.
Yes, we saw January 6th, apparently. Oh my gosh.
And this is where we wind up in a late night edition of the Knuckleheads of Liberty. Just in the gutter.
Yeah. Don't judge us. Don't judge us for this particular episode. Later, the later of the later at night episodes. You have to see us during the daytime.
Yes, really. And we welcome you to see more of us during the daytime. You can catch us at Facebook, libertariancounterpoint.com. We're going to have our own Facebook page up pretty soon. And you can also catch the shows at libertariancounterpoint.com. We'll see you at the next one. Thanks so much.
Toodaloo.
Bye.
Oh,
bye.